team.
All right. I think we're back. I think all is well. I think all is gonna stay well this time.
I'm gonna just comment this so that people know that for YouTube at least. That's the one downside with YouTube.
Hey Quinn, thank you for the thirst.
Oh yeah, thank you. Give me just a second. I'm fixing some stuff with TGF over here. Gladys, yes, we're back. Duffels, thank you cheers to Duffels for giving not only Planendorf a subscription, but Stealth POV a subscription.
Oh man, time to break out the potion of fireball.
Which Planendorf, if you like conversations on economy and artisanship stuff, there's a VOD that you now have access to on Twitch, where I was doing some script planning and we were going through the freeholds and I was talking about like the artisan stuff affecting economy. So if that's something that you end up having time to and want to listen to, it's available to you now. So welcome to the tavern.
Welcome to the tavern.
Man, the way you said that, for some reason, my brain was like, welcome to the tavern. We got fun games.
It's beautiful.
Not yet, though. Not yet, we don't.
Beautiful.
All right. So I think we're live. I think we're good. We're just gonna keep on trucking here. I thank you guys for the welcome back over on YouTube. I will say though, we did have a poll, and a good number of you, like 50% of you, said that you think that guild trees need adjustments on Twitch, and I think 80% said it needs adjustment on YouTube. So there's a lot of people that are like, yes, there's definitely an issue with the guild tree. Yes, it could use some love. So yeah. But Vladis, you got kind of cut off right when everything started going down. I don't really recall what point exactly it failed all of it at, but if anybody else does, please help.
I don't remember what I was talking about, but I do want to ask Vertec a question. So,
yeah.
First question, Vertec. Do you think guild should be made very quickly, like within the first 5 minutes of gameplay?
No.
Let me ask you that question first. Why
not? Mainly just because it's another one of those things where it creates an easy avenue for, I mean, this is kind of a silly excuse, but just the RMT thing. It's a little bit easier just to jump in, make a quick thing, slap it together a guild, dump a bunch of money in there from random people here and there, make a guild of whatevers that are just trading a bunch of stuff. But at the same time, the easy-ish entry that it is even currently isn't too much of a hurdle. But the other thing is, if Steven's approach to the game is everything needs to feel like there's some accomplishment to it, then being able to just jump in, start a guild, and run doesn't quite jive with that. Unless you start it off as, yay, you now have a name over your head, and that's all you have. From level 1, you can start a guild. Like, do you have a party of friends that you're adventuring with? Yeah, sure I do. Cool. You can have 10 people, and you can have put a name over their head. But then you have to level the guild very quickly, like you were saying, like get up to level 5 or 10, like a whole lot of points. Then you can be like, okay, well now instead of 10, we can have 20, and then we can get up to 30, the default size that it is right now. And then get another level and you can add a guild bank, and then get another level, you can make a bigger guild bank, another level, and you get more whatever experience when you're with at least 8 people in a guild, in a party.
So from my perspective, I think this is the problem I have with like the whole risk and reward statement from people. It's when we talk about a system, why does that statement always have to be considered? Like, whenever you want to pick a class, you can go into the game, you pick a ranger, you go in as a level 1 ranger. Like, I think there are certain things they can do with passives. And basically what I mean by that is, like, how whenever you're leveling your your base archetype. Like if you hit level 5, you get a passive, right? Like let's say like camouflage for a ranger. You hit level 10 on the rogue, you get a second point for your advantage. Like they can easily do that with guilds. So they can have like a sort of a passives that, every guild that reaches level 5 gets access to a guild storage, right? So guild storage doesn't need to be active for guilds right at level 1. But if you level a guild to level 5, now you have access to guild storage, right? Like so. But what I want and what my envision is that whenever we go into Ashes, everybody is already out to do something, and I feel like the way it currently works for guilds is there's so much time circumvented by people leveling their characters or whatever, that by the time they even make the guild, people are already like level 10. It feels like there was like this whole period of time of like wasted. It's like, oh, now we got a guild. And imagine if that's the way it works even afterwards, it's going to feel like, well, we could have had so much guild experience if we just would have gotten away earlier.
Yeah,
right?
Well, there's also another thing that only frustrates people who are trying to create a guild. And that is when a guild can be created so easily that everybody has all the meme names, all the cool names, all the badass names as an alt bank, because they can make it at level 1 as soon as they log in. So giving it some time where they have to devote some time to creating a character, leveling up, gathering signatures, whatever the case is, like gathering materials in the case of Ashes, it'll get rid of that, so that there's not 750 random level 1 characters out there with like all variables of all the good guild names, and now you got to start adding like symbols to your guild name. Even if it was something as simple as, I don't know, like Envious. They want to have Envious 2. Well, everyone goes out and makes Envious 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The best Envious the Awesome. And just so many different variations as their level 1 guild bank, and there's one person running around with it. And now Envious has no other options except to be like, oh, I guess we're prideful.
So, so do you think the way guilds are currently created now is good?
I don't have any complaint.
I don't know about necessarily good, only because, and I'll be honest with this, I don't know exactly what goes into it right now. I just know at first it was like you got to collect 7,000 rubies, and rubies are really hard to find.
Right.
So nobody was making a guild. I think it was actually like 50 or whatever, but still, it was a lot of people hitting the server all at once. And I think that also kind of time gated a rise to power, right? At server launch, it's going to time gate rises to power of guilds, just including something as a requirement to make it. So it's going to be the really driven guilds that are very active and very populous, let's say, that are going to actually get their guilds made, but they're also going to be the ones that are going to need to have like 5 guilds made. So they're going to be crazy active and eating up all the resources, which creates, again, one of those soft points of friction that Steven always talks about. But not to try to bogart too much time, but yeah, I kind of agree with you that there doesn't always need to be a risk versus reward to everything. There doesn't always have to be a soft point of friction. There doesn't always have to be a medium, hard, or incredibly extreme point of friction for everything under the sun. Sometimes a game is a game and it just needs to be fun. Because if it's not fun, nobody's going to play. So there needs to be a fun aspect to things too.
I do agree, and that's where I think the fun is kind of just fizzled, because by the time you create the guild, like in the way it currently is, there's just so much experience needed to level. And then look at the talent tree right now. Everybody has to put their first point into increasing their guild size by 10. That's trash.
That's what I was saying earlier. I think it shouldn't be level your group, increase your guild size by 10. It should be increase your guild size by 10 or get more like defensive capability or healing capability, etc., or whatever other third one, and start it all equal at the bottom, so there's not one entry point but like 3 entry points.
I think there should be 5, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
more categories.
Yeah.
That's the overall point that I was making.
Yeah. So if you kind of see like the talent tree right now, if you eliminate just the very bottom one, right? Now there's 3 options, right? How I would do it is I would give every category at least 2 options at the bottom. So if you're going to go in econ, you at least have either or. Like you can do the left one or the right one. Right now you just have one, right? So
Yeah.
I think having more choice in the matter early on and going, I would go, if I had my choice, I would probably go more broad at the bottom and kind of be like a pyramid. Like, so basically it would have like maybe 1 or 2 things at the very tippy top. But having more choices at the bottom, because that's where you're going to have, you're going to have like, your first point to spend. You want it to feel like you have some choice in the matter and not where it's just cookie cutter.
Right.
So that's why I want different categories. And I think Intrepid really has to figure out, and it's not going to be hard, but I mean, what do guilds do? What do they put their time into? Whatever guilds put their time into, create a talent tree that services those activities. What do guilds do? They do guild wars. They do dungeons together. They craft, they gather together. They sail together, right? Like, think of every activity and then reflect that in a talent tree. Because I can guarantee you, if you do that, it's going to make the talent tree way more interesting than what it currently is.
Right. I really want to say real quick, like, it's not really that big of a deal to make a guild at the moment. You just need red ink, the mayoral guild seal, and crude paper. And I think the initial, oh my gosh, was probably the change of raw mats needed to make the ink, more than likely. But the crude paper, you honestly get that from, I believe, the vendor, which some would argue maybe you should get that from a like lumber miller or something like that. But you basically, from what I understand, you get the crude paper and the mayoral guild seal from the vendor, and then you just need to make the ink, and then that's all that's really needed to make a guild. It's really not that hard. And for anybody who's curious, like, what's the pull on that? As an alchemist, because I went really hard in phase 2 in alchemy, there was so much ruby. Nobody really wanted anything to do with the ruby, and the common ruby was also pretty abundant. I think it's just a matter of getting in and spreading out and then finding the ruby, because in 2.5 I found a ruby pretty quick. It was a matter of maybe within the hour I already had the ruby needed for it. Hello Pockets, welcome in. But I think that also I want to hear, since Undead and Oracle, you guys haven't really said a whole lot in the last bit, what are your thoughts on all this?
I can't help but think
Oh, sorry. You can go.
I can't help but think a lot of the features you usually see in the guild tree is not in the game yet. And they might just be waiting for that. Like, the guild bank is not in, so there's no point in putting in a perk into this guild tree for that until it's actually in.
I don't think the guild bank is in the skill tree, or the guild tree.
I'm just talking in general, like, it's not in now because guild banks are not in the game.
Gotcha. Hallie? Oh, sorry.
Normally, that's a feature that you would see as a perk for guilds.
I honestly haven't been playing 2.5, so I haven't really been testing out these systems, and I've been listening to you guys back and forth and everything, and I don't know, you guys have said a lot of really great points that I agree a lot with, and I'm not sure if there's much that I can add to that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious because for me, I'm like not really like an officer, but I did have my hand on, like, I was running in the alt guild at one point because we needed somebody to take over it. So I was just like, I'm in control of this alt guild, I guess. And so I saw the guild tree that I'd given Vertex. Also, for those of you that are in our chat, you can see it in our Discord. I also put it there so that people can see it. So if you want to come check it out. But basically, there's just, I don't really know. Outside of like the main points that I have are, like I feel like there should be more than one option for the bottom level. At least do the 3 if you're going to do the 3 tiers. And then also like make sure the group play, like doing group stuff. Like I don't know exactly how it worked in World of Warcraft, but I do recall it being if you were in a group and you were dungeoning or raiding, your guild got XP for doing that. Like you should be rewarded for doing group content with your guild, which is the point of having a guild, to do group content. So if it's just caravans, that's not really a good incentive because not everybody wants to do caravans. Now, RJ Regner said, "Hey, I enjoyed this discussion. I'm a crafter who's in a PvP guild. I don't see this system ever working out for me." And yeah, it's like, what is the goal of your guild? And are you getting what you're looking for as a guild out of this tree? Because if you're not, like, what's the point? I would love to see something like maybe expanded guild bank options on the guild tree. I'd love to see maybe being able to summon a guild bank to a location on the tree, but like at the very top of the tree.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of interesting things they can do. I did want to ask you and Vertec a question about the length or how long it should take to level the guild in Ashes of Creation. Currently, right now, it takes 1,000 years. But like, if you had a more realistic time frame, like what would be your ideal going from 1 to max level? And we don't even know what the max level of a guild is, but let's just say it's level 25 for argument's sake. Like, how long do you think that should take a guild?
Personally, my opinion on that is I'd be perfectly comfortable if it took a year to get max level at launch. Because it's a guild thing, right? But that being said, I don't want there to only be like 25 points to spend. Like there should be a lot of different things, and that 25, if there's only 25 points, it's only going to get you maybe a third of the way through all the selections. So there is actually like some kind of actual choices to make on what direction you're going with that guild.
Yeah. For me, my genuine answer is I don't even know how long it's going to take for me to get to 50 at the moment. We don't even know how long it's supposed to take to level up the nodes properly because, I mean, for at least phase 2, they were pushed forward to the village stage because, at least on our server, there was an issue with the prerequisite system where it wasn't, I guess, going. And then from what I saw for 2.5, there was XP leaking from one of the nodes. So like people were doing quests and they were gathering and they're out and doing things, but the node just wasn't leveling. It was losing XP or just not gaining it. But one thing that I want to consider is, the vassalship situation and things like that. So I want it to be, because again, I'm used to playing World of Warcraft. I'm used to playing Final Fantasy. I'm used to playing games like those and Guild Wars. And I haven't come across a game like Ashes of Creation. So I don't feel like I have a solid answer for that because I haven't really played a game that's intended to take a long time to level. Like World of Warcraft, you can get to like max level in a decent amount of time if you just grind really hard. And it means nothing, almost.
I totally agree on that point.
Yeah.
Because I'm like you, where a lot of my clock time is from World of Warcraft, and so yeah, it was like super easy. It was super easy to level up a guild in that, and same thing with Guild Wars 2. And just I'm not sure what a bigger system like that would look at. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Go ahead.
I do have another question. So how do you feel about one or two things? Well, let me ask you this first question. How do you feel about nodes taking up like adding 10 extra members to your guild? Like, how do you feel about those kinds of talent points?
I'm perfectly okay with it myself. Like I said, it's points taken away from something else, especially if, because the one thing that there needs to be, in my opinion, is actual choice when it comes to what you're going to gear your guild towards. So if you're going to go for the vertical power that I'm still, in support of, but also the guild size increases, I'm still in support of, as long as there's other things you're missing out on. Like, you're not going to get the crafting bonuses, you're not going to get the whatever bonuses, and yeah, that's going to lead to the big guilds making multiple little divisions, but that's where other bonuses need to balance those out, like the alliance bonuses. Like the guild points need to be impactful. There needs to be choice between them, and if you're going to fill up an entire alliance just for your own guild, then you've got to be missing out on something for collaboration, not collaborating with other guilds in an alliance. You're just choosing your own people, and that's it.
I want to see, like, remind me, is it a base of 50 people maximum for a guild?
Yes.
Okay. Then, yeah, I think that, I don't know. I don't think you really need to worry too much about having 50 people, more than 50 people in the guild at like level 1 for the guild. Right? That's something that you have to like work to increase the amount of people in. Because especially if the offset is supposed to be mega guild, quote unquote, or powerful guild.
But what's the difference? Because right now a mega guild is still comprised over 500 members on Discord, which is broken up into, like, you know, what is 300 divided by 50?
6.
They're still doing that. So if there's a war deck happening, they basically do a call to arms on Discord, which adds everybody. It's the reason why I don't like it at all is because no one will take those points. Like, that whole category of increasing 10 members will be dead because it'll be the most inefficient points to spend in that talent tree. It's worth more to get the other things because, you know, there's just no reason. And I know what you're trying to say, Vertec, in the sense of, making it fair and balanced, but there's no way to do that. We are gamers. We will always try to obfuscate the system. And the way you obfuscate it is just calling to arms your other guild that you created to come and help you.
Except for when you can't.
I mean,
why wouldn't you?
Go ahead, GB.
No, I said, except for when you can't. Like, you literally can't. For example, guild versus guild war, right? If my guild is comprised of like the 50 people and we focused on like the power, and the other guild is comprised of, I'm assuming you're going with the take that they're not going to go with the more people, they're just going to go with the power and then call on the more people.
What I'm basically saying is that they're just going to, like, you know, whether it's like suspect 1, suspect 2, suspect 3, like, right, they're just going to add everybody and be like, hey, Aura, war decked us, everybody come and help us over here. Like, that's what's going to happen because that's currently what people are doing. Increasing your membership isn't really doing anything for anyone.
I guess, Vertec, like, the closest thing that you and I experienced so far was when I think Overlord 1 and 2, or like Overlord and Dissension, both guild decked just Nexus.
Well, but all of Overlord guild decked us, Guild War decked us, while we were also engaged in a node war already. Yeah. So here's the thing: like, if the alliance is 4 guilds, right? 4 guilds can be in an alliance, and there's 300 people in an out of game guild. They're not going to fit everybody in an alliance with a base of 50 per guild. They're going to be able to get 200 of them. The other 100 are going to feel left out, and eventually they're going to leave. They're just not going to suck it up. They're going to be like, well, why are we second-class citizens? Well, as a matter of fact, since we have 6 guilds, why can't I be in guild number 1? Everybody, like, all the PvP people are in there. Am I not good enough? Why am I not good enough? I'm better than so-and-so. That's going to cause contention in itself. So
And that's
splitting up
it.
too many things is, I mean, there's many guilds that saw that already.
Excuse
Can
me.
you put it on the screen, Vertex? I pinned it because I don't have the second version of StreamerBot on my side, but I also don't know if that works
I
on my side anyway.
Can't right now.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Well, no, talk about it. I mean, you pinned it. It's up there.
So RJ Regner said guilds who have multiple divisions, members get disillusioned pretty fast and causes issues with retention.
Mhm.
And that, I mean, I've seen that firsthand, and I'm not like necessarily saying like we're pulling people from other people's guilds, but Thor has pirates, right? And one of our newer members, she was a part of Pirates Guild, but the specific sector she was a part of was so lack of communication and doing things for that particular sector that she got kind of bored. So there's the idea of, ooh, I'm going to be a part of like this big fancy guild and I get to like, you know, rep that name. But then the reality kind of hits for some people, like again, depending on the guild size, especially with Thor's guild and how big they are. You have like number of guilds later where it's like you're not really even in direct response with the person that you're trying to support, and you're supporting this other person who is the guild leader of that part. And whether or not that person's actually aligned with the original guild leader or not is a whole other story. But it can get lonely, and it can be like the experience that you weren't looking for.
I mean,
sorry, real quick. Ludaloo had a point against you.
Sure.
He says, yep, before this stream crashed, that was my point against Vladis' suggestion to let the mega guilds just have 300 people all in one guild. People don't like being forgotten.
I do agree with that. Like I was talking to my guild leader, Psycho, and he doesn't like the idea of guild leaders breaking up their guilds into different divisions. But I feel like in Ashes, especially with the talent tree, even if they do completely horizontal, you're doing your guild a disservice by not doing that. If you are trying to be efficient and you're trying to get every, min max every single point you can in this game, if you want just to have one big guild of 300 people and then you have a talent tree that also categorizes like PvE, PvP, artisan, node, all that stuff, and then you just go in and try to do like a hybridized talent tree, you're not going to be as prepared as, or you're not going to be as good as a guild that has like 4 separate guild divisions that are all going really deep into each category and really taking advantage of that progression. So I mean, again, this game, everybody's going to try to min-max all the big guilds. Like you have Polar, you have Aura, you have, all of them. I don't think those guilds are disillusioned with having different divisions. They've all been very organized in the sense of, how they play, right? Because they join that guild specifically because they want to be a hardcore Ashes player. And I think for people that want to be semi-hardcore or probably just casual, again, not saying that you're going to have a very rough time, but if you're in a guild that's like casual or whatever, you're probably going to have some hiccups of being war decked against, like there's going to be like, hey, they're just going to do it. And I think honestly too, like a lot of the people that I've seen don't just purposefully war deck a small guild over and over and over again. I have not seen that. Not saying it doesn't exist,
right?
But if that were to happen, this is a game where that's why you need of friends, you need alliances, you need people to be like, hey dude, this one guild just keeps war decking us over and over and over again, can you come help us out? Like that's literally what this game is all about.
I have a question on that front, and I think Vertex is focused trying to get something working.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna take over for chatting, just so that you don't bounce any questions towards him while he's trying to figure something out. Basically, my question was, what did you just say? Can you repeat what you just said, the last part? Sorry, I'm losing it.
I'm trying to remember what I just said. Jesus Christ. When you put me on the spot.
Sorry. Let me think.
Jesus.
Oh, okay. Yes. So, okay. The problem is, I don't know if they're going to put a limit on the number of guilds that can be war decked at a time. So, like, let's just use an example.
Right now, I think,
Right, they have charges right now, but let's just use an example that actually happened for Nexus. Fed war decked Nexus, and then I think Overlord also war decked Nexus. Now, if you were to draw on that alliance, would the alliance be able to war deck on Fed, or would that count as one of their points, charges, if you will?
Well, each individual guild can declare war on another guild X amount of times,
Okay.
and then you need a certain amount of time for those charges to regenerate. Hey, Planadorf, have yourself a good night. Rest well, friend.
Later, brother. I think when it comes to war decking, that's going to be something we're going to need back and forth feedback on a lot. I think that system alone is going to go through so many revisions and so many things to get it right.
Yes.
Just right, you know, because I have like certain ideas, but I don't know how to practically make it work to where like a really big guild getting a war deck or a scroll to, like, let's say a 300 person guild going and war decking a guild with like 25 people. I feel like that cost of that scroll should be like a little astronomical, right? Like not astronomical. That's probably the wrong word, but it should be way more in cost, basically. So it's like, you know, and then it kind of more like maybe there's like a system that basically averages out, right? So if you're a 50 person guild and you war deck another 50 person guild, it's like a proper war deck material cost, like ratio. But if you are like a really big guild and you're war decking a very small guild, like there should be a way higher cost to do that. So it basically almost like disincentivizes you from just like war decking a guild that doesn't even have the numbers, basically. So it's like a little bit of a fail safe on that. I don't know. Like I said, like I can't really work it out of my system or in my head because there's like, again, and this is the thing with Ashes, like every time, like I've never admitted to always being right. Like I'm wrong when it comes to a lot of things, but I love just kind of theory crafting in my head. But even I poke holes in my own theories all the time. But I feel like there should be something like that to kind of help out. But you know,
Yeah.
I might have actually something to say.
Okay.
Okay, so I just thought about this. So, okay, if your guild can get a guild hall, but your guild is separated, say, into like 4 different guilds, do you have 4 different guild halls? Or if you're an alliance, do you share? Or can you share one guild hall or something?
Need to be 4 different guild halls. That's another point of contention between the guilds, is they're not all going to be able to get a guild hall.
Yeah.
Because like the
And-
guild halls Steven was talking about being pretty exciting in terms of, he was talking about your achievements that you get, you can put on display with, like, say you defeat Firebrand or something, you can put like one of his, I don't know, his toothses or something up on the wall, and that would feel kind of sad if you have like your other 3 little guilds out there that aren't being able to see all of the hard labor the rest of the guild is putting in.
Secondary
And vice
citizens,
versa.
not in the main guild.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what that contention is going to eventually give, right? I mean, you can say like, look, this is what we did as a guild overall, all you want. But the reality is, when those in-game benefits only happen to affect one of the branches, if you will, that's going to cause an issue over time. You know, that's gonna definitely make people feel certain ways. And as RJ Regner said, if you're a PvP guild and not in the division that gets war decked, then you're missing out on being able to do the PvP, because that's what some of those people are there for. They really love engaging in the PvP, and there's nothing more frustrating than being like, man, I totally would have helped you with the PvP, but I'm not in that guild. And if I drop guild right now to join you, I would be locked out of joining you for like a day.
Not in the main guild, guys.
Yeah.
So wait,
Remember, I'm in the
why
plug guild.
exactly can't we have just one big guild? What's the
Well, no,
reason
you
behind that
can.
again?
You
Okay.
can. The thing is, you can. The point of contention with the guild skill tree, or the guild tree. Why do I keep calling it a skill tree? The guild tree is you can increase the number of members Or the offset of that is increase your power and other benefits that you get from not increasing. And we've got a Ludaloo that actually wants to come and join us. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, got a Ludaloo in here. So it's hey Ludaloo for one. Hi. But for one, it's meant so that you have to choose between increasing the number of people, max number of people that can be in your guild, and power for your guild.
And I'd say that one of the other main points for not having a big guild, as I've been saying in chat, is the friendly fire. If you have 500 people in your overall mega guild, if all 500 people can be in one singular guild body, they always have no friendly fire against each other. So no matter how much of them are in the same place, they can always use all AoEs without any scares that they hit each other. If you only have in one alliance 4 guilds of 50, that's 200 out of your 500. So the max people that you can bring into one place and start fighting anyone without any scares of friendly fire is 200 people. So now anyone else who brings more people against you can kill you way more easier, because you can't bring as many people as you could if you had all huge mega guild. That's another point against mega guilds. And obviously the bigger point for a lot of people is that you are way lower in queue because you are in sub guild number 10, and the loot is barely trickling down to even sub guild number 5. So you are like months away from any kind of loot or reward or whatever. And so you just sit on your ass and hope that the gods above will give you something.
And honestly, the negative part about just having that many people, whether you're in one big guild or a bunch of small guilds, is also going to be, hey, let's go do a guild run against any world boss. Okay, cool. Well, it doesn't make sense to bring too many people, because then we're going to be rolling amongst everybody. And if we have 80 people, there's a slim chance everyone's going to get something. So we're just going to take one raid full of people. That's 40 people. Let's choose which 40 we're taking.
Yeah.
And that's the main mega guild issue, yes.
Yeah.
So
And-
what I would just do then is I would just make the cap 100 and that's it. Like I'd 300, like just don't even.
Yeah,
have
up to 400 in alliance. Yeah, that's fine. With that 100 being like very far up top the guild skill tree.
But see, also look at it in a different point of view. There might be legitimately like casual guilds, like absolute casual guilds. Like somebody might play, like any one person may play 1 day a week, that may want an extra large guild just so that there's more chances of somebody in the guild being online. And they don't care much about power. They just want to hang out with friends and do fun stuff and play around with the was it the Goofy Goober builds?
Goofy Goobers.
Yes.
One thing real quick from chat. Oh no. So Penumbra has been saying casual players are effed, and I said, why is that? And Penumbra says, it took our whole guild to craft 2 or 3 pickaxes. Good luck to casuals finding the mats. You need to have a delay on declaration. Seeing a guild grinding in your spot and declaring war on them to not have to go corrupt is lame. And then to the point about the what did I call it again? Guild halls. So Thruther says that's when it takes a great leadership where it's a rotation. Guild number 1 gets the head this time, guild number 2 gets the next head, and you cycle through it no matter the benefits. But I doubt that happens in most guilds because the best guild will always demand the best buffs, which absolutely fair. But then I was like, well, then how does that work with the guild hall? Because as Penumbra puts it, only patron guilds will be able to have a good guild hall and freehold. And Thruther says just gotta hope each one has a guild hall and you make sure that the correct guild gets them. But the problem at that point is you have people that are pushing. So that only works if you are the only guild in that node pushing for anything of value. Because as soon as you have something like Aura versus Polar, then you've got 2 people that are pushing at like the same time really hard to get a spot as a patron guild, and that is now taking away one of your other mega guild spots that you've allied with, so that you can have multiple guild halls. Now, the reality of that, probably Polar is going to have one guild like node, and or is going to have another guild node, but it's just in terms of when there's that type of contention, it's going to happen.
That's why I'd be perfectly happy in a 60, 70 person guild at most. And at that point, there's going to be like almost half that are going to not be online at any random given time or scheduled raid or scheduled event. And we'll have a raid full of people. And we'll all have a similar focus. There won't be as many like diverse viewpoints on what we're trying to do as a guild. Diverse viewpoints on how we accomplish those goals is totally different, but at least everyone's more likely to be like-minded as far as the end goal of the guild itself. And there's not going to be as much contention. There's going to be, you know, one main guild. Maybe we'll split off a couple extra people into a second one just because they're like, we're going to be on very rarely, but we like being in the guild with you folks, quote unquote, like in Discord and whatnot. And we want to join your activities from time to time. We like your group of people. So maybe that's the split off guild, and they understand that they're not going to be the core group, and that's cool. And they're okay with it.
Or maybe, I mean, maybe we're kind of looking at this a little bit oppositely. Maybe, maybe guilds should be more, like when we think of a guild, like that should be what the alliance is. So like, you know, Suspect is the alliance name, and there's 4 divisions of Suspect, right? Just like there's 4 divisions of whatever guild, right? So it's like your guild name isn't technically, you know, your guild name. That's your alliance name. Like would it be
you're in the meta
give it...
guild that just comes in the form of the alliance. That's usually how that was in Lineage 2.
Right, like because I think we're thinking of it very individualistic, and if you know, depending on how the alliance system will work, like because my whole thing is because of the whole 50-person thing, there's so many guilds right now that just have way more than 50 people, and I would rather have a 100 minimum, right? Like at the start. So that way, like Vertic was saying, if you have a guild that's like 60, 70 people, well, everybody could be in that one guild. Like you don't need to make 2 separate guilds for that guild, right? Like I think increasing the floor a bit from 50 to 100 would be way better than where it currently is. And then I still say get rid of the freaking putting points into increased membership size. I think again, like Lost Ark did it. It was beyond terrible. Like every person that I've talked to in Discord hates that system. So I don't know what they could do there, but I don't think that that's currently the play either.
And I think that's the question, right? If they're going to make a system to level a guild, what do they put in there? The most desirable things to guilds typically are bank space, guild size, power, and profit.
I guess
like
those
4
too.
things. That's about it, really. Like, what else would people actually care about increasing for a guild? Like bonuses while you're grouped up. That's power or profit, right? You're getting a bonus for being grouped up, so it's still a power increase. It's just a different way of going about it. The only difference is that a guild being a collection of individuals, sometimes people want to play on their own, and those benefits being tied to being in a group with the guild is also going to make people that can't fit into a raid group kind of feel like they're getting left out too.
Well, maybe a PvP guild wants to have, right now I think the charges is like 4, but what if there was a passive point that, you know, in the PvP category that makes you can get another charge, or maybe 2 extra charges. So now instead of 4, now you have 6, you know, so there are more horizontal
That's a vertical
things
that I would absolutely call that a vertical, because that gives you more aggression that you can put out there. That's like being able to it's being able to kill another raid boss or another world boss, just spawn another world boss when nobody else can.
But supposedly, if they do stick with the differential of you either go more in people or higher in power, then if you go for more power, you have fewer people, which means that your, say, guild of 50 now has 5 guilds of 100 of enemies. So you might be stronger, but you now have a ton of enemies that are free to kill you at any point on the map. So yeah,
Right.
you might contest more bosses, but I wouldn't say that's a vertical increase in power, considering that you are literally nerfing yourself because you have more enemies now.
Yeah, I just don't want, like, you, when there's 8 or more players in your team, you have, you know, percentage more dexterity, percentage more intellect. You know, I don't want any, like, those kinds of direct vertical progression within the guild talent tree. I think Intrepid really truly needs to go as horizontal as possible. And again, there could be, you know, with econ alone, right? You think of, you know, the guild storage, you think of professions, you think of like node stuff with selling and buying and trading. There's a whole, with that one category, you can do so much that's like really, really interesting. Within the whole PvE side of things, there's a lot of PvE things that you can do, hopefully in the future, Vertex, because, you know, me and you are in the same vein as far as PvE goes. But you know, and then there's the whole PvP side of things, and then you could even go into like naval, right? Like that's going to be a whole kind of thing on its own too. Like, so depending on if you just want to be a pirate, right? The whole pirate life, that could be its own separate category for people that truly just want to live out in the sea and do stuff like that. There, to me, I think their mantra should be no vertical. What can we do that's horizontal that can make it fun and interesting for players?
Yeah, I'd have to sit down. It'd probably take me a good while to think of more than 10 benefits I'd like to see in a guild that aren't vertical.
Yeah. I'm
Also,
kind of the same.
Are you
Don't
guys
forget-
wanting vertical progression? I mean, because it seems like you're disappointed
Absolutely.
when I say
I want
But,
vertical
like,
progression. I want like expansion
You
of
want-
power, profit, size, storage.
within the guild talent tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
mean, that's
also
what I-
want to know.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I also want to know, like, from the stuff that's already in the guild tree. Let's go with artisanship, for example. What other avenues do we have, or will we have, to gain that outside of the guild?
Meaning,
Like, scribes can make us scrolls, and alchemist is going to be making us potion.
Mhm.
We already get
Okay.
stat buffs from our gathering tools. Like,
As in, like, how many things we can stack together with the guild buffs and stuff.
yeah, like, what is left to
I mean,
actually put in the guild that is not already somewhere else?
that makes more
I
sense.
see it all as simply stackable things. So you have
Yeah.
food, you have buffs from, say, Bard. The stream did the stream crash again, or was it me?
I think it's just you. Looks
I'm
good to
seeing
me.
it.
Whatever. So it's food, it's buff from the Bard, it's buff from the node. If we have some direct vertical power buffs rather than what we have right now. What else could be? Like any things that work together, guild buffs, especially considering that guild buffs will most likely be just passive. So they would be just passive stackable additions, and that's it. At least that's how I've always seen them.
Yeah, and it's also like the guild that pushes more into that versus into increasing their numbers. That's something that you inherently have across the guild without needing to have any buffs that another guild would not have because they didn't go for those buffs just on a baseline. Hold on, what right there? Oh, okay, hold on. Chat
Pressure
keeps
gave a
moving.
really good point of like what a guild passive
Yeah.
point could look like.
So Throther says a guild talent would be reduce the amount of materials lost on death by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10%. I would love that. And then if you put all 5 points into it, you get that 10%. Yes. So now you reached guild level 5 and all the guild level 5s give you plus 1% max health or plus 5% stamina. Yeah, exactly. I'd love that. Or you can increase your guild size. And I agree with Penumbra saying that, you know, maybe making it 70 or 80 minimum with then more allowed through the guild tree would be fine. I don't think maybe 100 right off the bat, just because there's got to be some trade-off, right? But I think even increasing it to 70, 75 instead of just 50 is a decent amount. And I think that that's a good trade-off. I think that that would be something that would be worth, like, okay, well, we don't necessarily need to spend money or points into getting just to the 70 people that we need because our guild is smaller. We already have the 70 accounted for, versus needing to only put a little bit to get to 100, and compared to the current system where you start at 50, a lot more to get to that 100. So it's reduced the amount to get to the 100 from current, but also allowed the minimum to increase a little bit. But it's just one of those things where I don't really care if it's vertical or horizontal. Personally, I just want it to be meaningful and to feel good. I want to make sure at the end of the day that leveling the guild actually has a good purpose, and that it feels like it's something that is feeling across all of the guild members. But
I mean, there's also stuff like, you know, you can acquire more within a treasure map chest, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of things that they can do within the guild talent tree that I don't think needs to be vertical. And I think if there is anything that has to be vertical, it only should live at the very top. Like no tier 1, no tier 2. Like, it has to be the top pinnacle point, and that's it. And there only should be one option for it. Like, I think having multiple points of vertical progression within the tree, like in the middle or even at the bottom, it would not, in my opinion, I don't think it'd be good, neither for us as the players nor for Intrepid to balance. I think it'll be an absolute nightmare for them to balance in the future. I think the amount of contention within the community would just be heightened by it. I don't know. I fear that a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like
don't know.
everything is vertical.
Yeah, I mean,
I fail
honestly,
to see horizontality. Like, for example, if we go econ as horizontal, okay, we say we get 10% more stuff from maps, right?
Mhm.
That's direct verticality of power. If you get 10% more, let's say, gold, because maps can give you gold, you can buy gear with said gold because you got 10% more. So if someone gets like 5% more physical attack, you can get that through economy by buying better gear than that person that has the 5%. Except now you can get even better because your entire guild is getting more money from maps. To me, that's vertical as hell. So I'm not even sure what horizontal even is. Or can be.
So it's sort of like, you know, what's considered pay to win, right? People have very different interpretations of what is considered to be pay to win.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so, like, when I hear you say that, like, I understand that, but what I am more talking about is literal, just true vertical progression. Like, your character's power is increased by
Just
X
pure power.
percentage. Yes, like,
Man.
like there's always ways to obfuscate, like, oh, you're going to give it a little bit more gold, and you can consider that, you know, vertical progression because you can use that gold to, like, buy better gear or whatever. But it's not clear vertical progression.
it's
So lie to
honestly,
people. I
if
support
economy
that,
and
yes.
crafting
They
is
need
going
to
to
lie to
dominate,
people better.
yeah, honestly, if crafting and gathering those materials is going to be dominating the gear market, that is absolutely 1000% vertical progression. Even the suggestion, who was, I think it was Feather, said like dropping less. Yeah, Feather said like reduce the amount of materials lost on death. A 10% loss, 10% of the materials kept in your bag is huge.
Yeah,
That's
those who
huge.
lose less will win more, so that's also vertical.
Even 5%,
Also, on
like,
Threader's point, they suggested not just that, but in the context of literally all increases in skill in guild skill tree will give you power. You should have read the previous message as well, because that was the context for the second message. They said that literally all skills give you power. So if you get to level 5 in whichever skill you chose, you passively get power vertically. That was the context of that suggestion. So you say there's, for example, level 5 levels of skills of get more people or lose less stuff on death. But whichever you chose, if you went to level 5 of either of those skills, you would still get like plus 5 HP or whatever Fraser suggested. So they wanted literally all guilds to get power, but they would still be free to choose whichever skill they want. I do support that, but on the point of everything being vertical, I do believe everything is vertical. So I would say you just need to go full diagonal. I suggested this back in like 2021, I think. Everything should just be diagonal. There's no horizontal or vertical. Everything's diagonal.
Well,
What does that even mean?
So he basically
There's
just
no
means
stats.
where it's not, yeah, like it's not true vertical, but it's not all the way horizontal. Like basically imagine if there was like you take 15% less XP debt on death. You know, some people would consider that vertical progression, but I don't really. It's more horizontal. Like when I think of vertical, I think my player character paper doll is now stronger and I can hit harder by my spells. Like that to me is true vertical progression.
So you're talking about absolute, like the most basic raw, just literal stat points.
Direct power. Yep.
Yes, I don't
Not
want
X or Y.
Okay,
But
so that's fine then. We'll give guilds a 10% increased drop rate for materials and items off of monsters that you kill.
That's fine by me.
And I'm totally fine with that.
That's weird.
I am totally fine with.
To me, that feels much weirder.
Why?
Why is that much weirder?
Because it's just an extra long way of getting the same thing, except you get to choose what you get out of it instead of just increased power. No, I can go and I can get an item to increase my gathering to further increase how many items I'm getting. Like if I'm getting more materials or more drops from things, like I can sell that to do whatever I want with it.
I'm gonna pull a Verteg.
But
we're role playing. And there's 5 of us, and we find more things because there's more eyes.
But we're role playing, and we're in a guild that's training together. We're training to fight better together. Therefore, we should get stronger.
Yes. I just wanted to add a little funny moment. Sorry.
I think when it comes to those particular points, having the less obvious vertical progression is better than having just the no-brainer, I get 10% more intellect, that means I hit harder. Like that doesn't compute in my mind, especially for a guild talent tree. Now for your own specific character talent tree, I think that would definitely make sense if there was particular points within your character talent sheet that increases your overall intellect or dexterity or whatever you wanted to do. But as far as your overall guild, like being like if there's eight or more members in your party, the named mob drops more materials, I'm totally fine with that, especially if that's a talent point that you put your guild put into. Like that to me makes more sense rather than you do 20% more damage to named bosses. Like that doesn't make sense to me personally.
Yeah. And go ahead.
One thing just to respond to Threather, so I would say one thing about everything is vertical power. I would have one counter argument. Yes, you might be able to get more materials faster. However, in the end, I will get the exact same gear as you. You getting it faster doesn't end in pure vertical power progression. Well, if your guild levels up to the same level, you too can get the same vertical power. So therefore, it's not really a vertical power if you can get the same thing, but using that same logic though. Because every guild has the choice to do that. Now the thing is like, and this is where it gets tricky in my mind, is that there's so many things that people think of when they think of what would I like to get out of a gain from my guild, and most of them are legitimately vertical power, especially in a game where crafters rule the gear game. And when you
Everyone
have a
going
choice
for that
between
plus 1%.
yeah, so when you have a choice between like a 5% power increase or you have a 10% increase in materials gathered, so your miners can make stuff, you can boost up your power much better, much faster if you get a legendary piece of gear crafted instead of a rare versus a 5% power increase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And I just thought of something. What if, because we're talking about PvP guilds or not PvP guilds, but like, what if somebody wants, like, maybe your point of your guild is you are a guild of artisans. You'd want to be able to have things that benefit an artisan guild. Like, if you're not really intending on fighting all that much, you're gonna be like, okay, well, I'm not really a PvPer, one might argue. So it doesn't matter how much buff I give myself in terms of health and like damage and stuff like that. My gear might be pretty good, but my skill's not really there. So I would much rather take something that benefits me as a guild across the guild, like getting more material drops or getting a chance across the guild for less processing time, etc., like what you can do with the baronies.
Here's a suggestion in the lines of diagonality and whatever. What if guild perks gave us multipliers on our own abilities and passives?
Dusty! Cheers.
Dusty.
Cheers,
With a
friend.
69.
What was your question again?
Very nice. What if guild perks gave us multipliers on our own abilities and passives? So let's say you have a passive that gives you plus 10 to collectible to gatherables. So instead of like 10 trees, you get 11. I mean 10 wood, you get 11 wood. But now the guild perk can give you a multiplier of let's say 2 on that bonus. So instead of 10, it's 20%. So now instead of 11, you get 12 wood from one tree, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
sorry.
It's full diagonality. The guild itself, the perks from the guild do nothing directly. They don't give you power directly, don't give you even horizontal power directly, but they get your own skills that you chose, they make them better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's literally the whole point. I just think, like I said, having anything that's just like direct vertical progression, I think should not exist at all. But anything that's like adjacent to verticality, because again, I it's like looking at a cup of water, right? People can say, oh, it's half empty, it's half full, right? There's still half water in a cup. Like we can have a discussion about whether everything is half empty, half full, but I think ultimately, like there's half of the water's in the cup. So I mean, I just think that for Intrepid, it would just be best to just be adjacent. And I think players, like, again, I'm with Chibri, like, as long as it's fun and interesting, I kind of don't care. I'm kind of with Thresher when he was basically Throther, sorry, when he was talking about like if I chose a different point than you and now you have a permanent 10% like intellect buff on me, like I will never be able to surpass that. Like I agree with that. That's why I don't want any true direct vertical progression within the guild talent tree.
But the thing is, and this is the biggest point that I can possibly throw in opposition to that. If there was such a draw for you to choose the other point instead of the one that I chose, obviously to you it was much more important. So why do you care about the other one if the one you chose was more important?
Yeah, and that relates to fun, and I was about to say about that. Everyone has their own subjective fun. A PvPer wants the fun in getting more power to gank more people, while the PvEer or a gatherer want their fun in like getting more loot, maybe, or getting better loot or whatever. And so one wants pure direct verticality, as Vertic keeps saying, and others want something horizontal. So I think we are talking about roughly the same shit. but we just disagreed in terms of macro approach and micro approach. Vladis wants more of a micro approach where people decide for themselves what they want, and guild is just in the background, while Vertic and mostly me want macro approach of guild does stuff that helps you become even better, and sometimes even vertically directly better.
Yeah. And the reason why I say I don't really care as long as it feels good is I don't want to limit myself to just physical power increases and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I love seeing a power increase. I love going up against a boss and then practically dying and running away and then coming back 5 levels later and being able to handle it like a champ, you know? I love when somebody goes running through us because they either have mobs on them or they're trying to train us, and our guild is built up to a point where we could just handle those mobs. Those mobs didn't even bother us in the first place. Oh, look, free XP. Cool. Done. You know, and that feels good through a progression and progressive standpoint, but I don't want it to be limited to just those. If there are other ways to benefit the guild outside of just a vertical power benefit.
And let me be clear too. I feel I am in the minority of Vertec and Ludaloo's opinion, because I feel like Intrepid is siding with them. I feel like the reason why I guess I'm saying this is because I truly think that there will actually be vertical progression. I think it's a mistake, but I really do think that the new talent tree that they're going to be designing will have exactly what you guys are asking for, and I'll be kind of left out in the dust. Now, is it a big thing for me? Am I going to quit over the game because of it? No, of course not. But I just think it's a mistake. I don't think it'll be a good idea. But hey, they could release it and everybody could love it, and everybody thinks it's actually really good. The choices actually really matter and feel good. And maybe I'll just be like, damn, like I was really wrong. I actually think it's good too. Like, I don't know. Like I'm not saying that I'm all absolute when it comes to my opinion. Like, I mean, I could change. But you have to see it first.
Here's the thing. I would love to see Intrepid leverage spot testing and PTR testing a lot more.
Yes.
Because you could build one example of a guild tree that doesn't implement too much more off of what they already have. Just redesign it slightly, move things around, and be like, test this, give us your feedback on this. How did this feel? And the implementation that they adjusted was, instead of starting off at the bottom with getting an increase of 10, you had an increase of 10 or an increase of damage output as your first option, where it was more than just one selection. And then they just rearranged the tree, essentially, just like they did with the skill trees, right? They've just rearranged them a little bit. So you could do it that way and test that way for like a weekend and be like, how does this feel? Give us your feedback. And then you could take that, you can readjust it and try the horizontal method with a little bit of vertical progression, but primarily horizontal. And then say, how does this feel? Tell us your thoughts on this one, and already have those two set up. And then you're utilizing the PTR test, you're utilizing these focus and spot tests in a much more beneficial manner that not only gives you a greater breadth of information, because I'm telling you, with this many people saying that the guild tree system needs adjustment, it needs work, and something needs to change, I'm sure you're going to have people showing up by easily the 50s and 100s to test this on the PTR.
I think even if they just did A/B testing, like here's guild tree A and here's guild tree B. Here are all the passives. These are all what the passives do to A. These are all the passives to B. And I don't even need to go in game. Even if they just gave me a sheet of freaking paper with these are all the passives for guild tree A. This is guild tree B. What do you like better? I can tell you right off the bat. I mean, we've played the game, right? Like we would just know by looking at it. Oh, this tree is way better. These passives are way better compared to this other tree.
For me, I'm not so cut and paste like that. I would have to feel it, I think.
I mean, for me, like
least, they can do this on forums. More dev discussion.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Your GMs PR people, however you call mods on forums, they are sitting there doing nothing. they need to do more. I'm also joking for anyone watching from Intrepid. They're doing fine.
The sarcasm's a little harder to tell with its accent.
Yep.
But
also, Vladis, your point is not in the minority. You're only in the minority right now because Vertic and I are mostly arguing from the point of PvPers who do want vertical progression. And because right now in Ashes, there's only such people left. While everyone who's more a PvEer or gatherer have either left or are waiting for something better to happen to the game. And so right now you might think that you are in minority, but the PvPers are definitely the minority, so you're fine.
Well, see, here's the thing though. I'm primarily PvEer, have always been primarily PvEer, and I like both. That's why I said I don't really need it to be one or the other. If it's diagonal and you can have both, cool. I'll take both because I love it as a PvEer getting more XP and stuff. But the reality is this isn't a PvE game. This is a PvX game, as everybody keeps bringing up. And so no matter what I do, it might be interrupted by PvP, which means I'm going to have to be ready for PvP.
Yep.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, I just want something that actually... Give me something that levels up way quicker than what this monstrosity currently is. Give more choices at the very bottom. Like, make sure my first point that I earn isn't something that everybody else gets also. Like, that feels really, really bad in the sense of choice. And I think I'm with you, Vertec. Like, I don't know how big they want to go with the talent tree or how many levels personally. I keep saying 25 because we're level 25, but if let's say their end goal is to have like level 50 be the max guild size level, like 50 points to play with, I think would actually be pretty damn cool. And especially if they do like hopefully 4 or 5 different categories the way I kind of envision, you can make them very robust, you know, with like 50 points to spend, and each being more and more difficult to pick from. And they can even go kind of World of Warcraft-ish, right? So as soon as you go, if you go, let's say, too high into a particular tree, like let's say you can only go into one other category tree, right? So if like let's say like there's like 5 tiers of the talent tree, right? All the way to the 5th tier being the pinnacle point. And let's say if you go up to tier 4, now you're kind of limited into the other categories of where you can go with the other ones, right? So that way it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, do I want to go more even? But if I go all the way up to this one pinnacle point, then I'm cut off from the other talent trees in a sense, right? Like, I think
and
something
like
like that could be really interesting. Right. You know, so I mean, it's going to be interesting overall. I think in my thing, I would rather personally have a higher floor than 50. I don't know if that's 70 or 100, but I just think 50 right now feels way too little. And I would love if we can make guilds sooner than where we currently can make them.
I had a question. If you are wanting the guild levels to go by so much faster, would you accept the slower level of leveling as the slower rate of leveling a guild for a bigger benefit in return?
Well, I want it to scale the way leveling currently works, right? Like you can level from 1 to 10 in Ashes within a day, like even as a casual person.
And I hate that.
Well, I do think that's going to be adjusted, right? Like I think the 100 hours from 1 to 25 is clearly not correct. So I think that's definitely going to be adjusted. But I just, all I'm saying is that I want guilds to work that way. Like going and
be faster at the beginning and take longer as you level. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
I
where
agree.
it's scaled, right? To where it's literally scaled just like your level, right? Like going from 1 to 5 in Ashes is, you know, just what, like a couple of hours, you know, for maybe a casual to do. So in my mind, like a guild going from like level 1 to 3 should go pretty quickly, right? Like and the reason why I want it that way is because it allows you to be invested super early on. That way you want to keep leveling, right? If the first level to get takes like a week or 2 weeks, it's going to just feel so much of a trog that it's like you're not, like, not saying guilds are going to fall apart by it, but I think it's just more of a mental thing, to have a couple of points pretty early, and then now you're level 7, getting to level 8 and stuff. It just like you're going to feel the trudge eventually, but all I'm saying is that having a couple of points to play with early, I think is kind of important from just a gamer's perspective.
Yeah. Vertec, if you're cool with it, I was gonna say maybe we can bring this conversation into the guild, or not the guild Discord. Wow, the TGF Tavern Discord, and keep the conversation going, because I'm really interested in seeing all of the takes that we're seeing. I'm definitely curious to see more of what you guys have to say about this. I would love it if you guys wanted to join the Discord and come chat about this between episodes and things like that, especially because then Vertec and I can talk about it at length at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely to kind of sum up like everything I've been saying and everything we've all been saying, really, is it sounds like, for the most part anyway, as long as it's interesting and actually like meaningful choices. Myself personally, I'm okay with just about anything. Do I want vertical progression in there? Yeah. Do I want a horizontal? Yeah, absolutely. Do I want diagonal? Whatever that's all about? Yeah. I want anything and everything. Yeah. Give us choices. Make it meaningful.
Is the
I got a question for everyone. I don't know if I just perceived this was going to be the case or not, but I thought like guild perks related to combat was going to be augments, not stats.
I don't know.
In what way? Augments in what way?
Like augments you could use, like another way to get augments other than through your secondary class.
Oh, you mean like through religion and stuff like that, or what?
Yeah, like social structures, but guilds,
organizations.
Yeah, I never got that that impression. So
no, same.
Maybe that's because due to my own bias from Lineage 2, because it has guild passives and you gotta invest points into them, you gotta kill bosses that drop items that you then use for different skills and stuff. So all of that stuff, I just immediately thought it's purely guild based rather than any augments or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments on YouTube or in our Discord. But thank you guys so much for joining us for tonight's chat. I would love to keep it going. However, Vertec and I have a lot more stuff that we have to do this week. And we have some guests at the tavern physically this week. So we got to prepare the tavern for them.
Yes.
Really enjoyed this. Unfortunately, I don't feel like we really got to kind of an end of the conversation really for me, but that's good because that means we can keep it going.
Indeed.
Appreciate y'all having us on.
Yeah,
of course.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for jumping in.
Appreciate you all jumping in here and hanging out with us.
You guys want to tell people where to find you or anything that you want to shout out?
Ludulu on Twitch. That's it.
Yeah, apparently doing something about boats.
Hey there, Slurp.
Yes, boat Dota. Play boat Dota. We need more people there.
I always see you something boat Dota, and I was like, I don't even know what that means.
That's Dota with boats. Based on Warcraft 3 map warships. Battleships. So if anyone has played that, go play Sirocco. Yes. Hey, hell yeah, Treasure. Hell yeah, we need more people. They are also in early access, almost like Ashes, and they barely have like 100 people. We need more people. Play Sirocco.
Where are my profession talent trees? Listen, Vladis, they're working on it. It's coming.
Come on, Corey. Come on.
They're working on it. I'm working here. All right, Vladis, where can people find you?
Kill yourself.
Oh, okay. Vladis Gaming on YouTube, on Twitch. I make Ashes creation content, so waiting for you. Yes. I know that ain't gonna be for a while. God, I hope y'all don't drop that in October. That's a long time. Yeah, thank y'all for having it. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course, of course.
Always, always.
And then we have
Pally.
Undead Pally, whose comms are open for art.
Always open for commissions. Thanks for having me on for what few tidbits of information I could give. But you can find me at Undead Pally on X, and on Instagram.
Yeah,
I make art.
she made our offline
Yes.
banner. So if you like that, that's her art style. So
Yep,
go
you're
check
gonna
her
see,
out there.
when we go to close out stream and run away, you're gonna see her art on the right side of it. That's all her,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
fantastic. We love it.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna get
Absolutely.
that framed. It's gonna get a mural painted on the wall.
Yes. Just in time for the goodbyes. Unfortunately, Sinflow, yes.
The timing, friend, the timing.
And then we have
But,
Oracle, who's a part of our guild.
Yep, you can either find me on a TGF Tavern Discord, where I'm going to try to spend a lot more time there for anyone who wants to join in and chat, or join the guild with Nexus and join that
Yeah.
Discord.
Fun
Mhm.
fact, Oracle is always down for chatting Ashes. So
It's true. It's true.
you're looking for
Yes.
someone to chat Ashes with, Oracle's definitely waiting.
Yeah, I'm on Discord
Man.
a lot more on that right now. Mostly doing healing my arm from an injury I recently got.
Yes.
Embrace the suck, says
Maplos.
Maplos.
Thank you. Yes.
Embrace the suck.
Well, I have one big announcement in case nobody else saw it recently. TGF Tavern is happy and proud and honored to return with our summit for 2025. And we have our lineup for our first summit of 2025 for our unofficial content creator summit. And you guys can find that announcement on YouTube and X and in the Discord. So if you guys want to see who all is in it, come give a perusal. That will be June 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So mark your calendars.
It's been a year since we had our last one. Can you believe that?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
We tried so hard to make one earlier in the year and it just didn't work out. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just gonna be in it. Random people. We're picking them from the audience as we start.
Yeah.
Pockets.
Pockets. Why don't you come join us?
Yeah.
I'll
yeah,
choose
yeah.
you.
Are you gonna be the first volunteer?
Perfect.
Everybody
All
said
right.
yes yet.
But
Too
yeah,
bad.
we do the
He's
we
in
do
it.
the Yeah,
all
the
right.
summits, we do those quarterly. We're going to get back on the habit of doing them quarterly. We've gotten a couple
Yes.
knocked out, and then the whole hurricane stuff happened, and we lost a bunch of equipment, had to move and got distracted and had to rebuild all that stuff. And now we're back online with it. So if you want to check out our YouTube channel, we have videos from the previous ones. They've all been very fun. You'll see a
Yes.
definite evolution where we started with a whole lot of people and we started to fine tune a little bit so that people had more than
Yes.
30 seconds to talk at a time. Yeah, it's
just
a
like
fun time.
just like an alpha, our summits are in development.
Yes, they are constantly in growth stage. But either way, folks,
Here we go. Here's the quarterly summits playlist. If you guys want to check that out, it's definitely a binge. It's not a short thing by any means.
yeah, no, not at all. The first one I think was 7 hours.
Yeah.
We've since got it down to about 3.
When's Alpha 2 for the summits?
Alpha 2.
We finished the pre-alpha. This year is Alpha 1. So soon TM. Oh my gosh. But yes. Thank you guys so much. We couldn't be here without you. And all you.
Yeah, so you folks have a choice. If you do not choose for us, I will choose. We can raid over to a Turgo Live who's playing some Apex Legends. He's a guildie of ours. He does play some Ashes. Looking to dive in more when Alpha Phase 3 hits. We also
Alpha
have
3.
Phantom Yosha. Plays Ashes more often than Turgo does. But right now he's playing some Elden Ring. If nobody else chooses, we're going to raid Christina Gomez. Oh, curse you. Curse you, Valley. Ugh, I tell you,
You were
what,
holding that one in.
I
You were
was
waiting.
all night. I was just waiting for the perfect
You were
opportunity.
waiting. Ah. All right, I'm gonna grumble. But either way, okay. So Turgo will play Wadgate later. Okay. See no votes except for I see Turgo. I see Turgo once, so maybe it's gonna
Okay.
be Turgo. Anywho,
Turgo Live, got it.
thank you folks for joining us. Love all the viewpoints. We are here for the diverse viewpoints. Even if we disagree,
Yes.
we love them.
Yes.
So appreciate it much.
It's so important to hear your thoughts to us.
Yes. Everyone, have yourselves a fantastic night. Thank you for spending your time here. You've spent it wisely, I guarantee you. And that's a good thing because you do not get your time back.
And thank you for the support. It means a lot to us.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.